Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and welcome to the District 6 Budget Town Hall. I am Annapolis Senior High's very own Vincent Molden. I graduated I graduated here in 2008, and we used to like to say, oh, hate, don't hate. So no hate tonight, okay? And I am the Director of Community Engagement and Constituent Services for County Executive Pittman. And I'll be your moderator this evening. This town hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series and is your opportunity to let the county leaders know what you think should be funded in the county's FY25 budget. This evening, we will hear brief opening remarks from County Executive Stuart Pittman and Councilmember Lisa Rabian. Then the County Executive and the Budget Officer, Chris Trumbauer, will share a brief presentation about the outlook for our FY25 budget. After the presentation, we will open the floor for public testimony, and you will get the chance to share your thoughts. That's the fun part tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce, I'll introduce our other county staff here in the building. So we have Karen Henry here, and she is the Director of Public Works. Thanks for being here tonight, Karen. And now without further, also, before we move on, Community Engagement Officer Tiana Parker is here. She is the Community Engagement Officer for District 6 area, well, Regions 4, 6, and 7. So this area, and she'll be taking notes tonight. And without further ado, I would like to introduce County Executive Stuart Pittman.
Thanks, Vincent. I'm not going to say much other than thank you for coming on a really cold night. Winter is finally here. Feels good to have a little bit of winter, doesn't it? I mean, it's the right thing to do. All the little critters and the germs freeze up, and then they don't come back, the ticks and everything, they don't come back as strong in the spring. I think, isn't that how it works, Chris? There's some biology with that. It's good to have a good freeze so we can have a good thaw. But, we've done 7 of these every year for, this would be the 6th year now. And now we do a virtual one in Spanish as well, so that makes 8 the last few years. And, I was thinking about them and whether or not I was excited. And part of me was thinking, well, it's a lot of the same people saying the same things every year. And then I was thinking about this cool process where people come in with something that they want, whether it's a sidewalk or some project in their neighborhood, and then they get to hear from some of the unions of some of the employees in the county and some of the people in the school system, and some of the people are talking about something they didn't know about, and they walk out of here with a bigger picture and often a whole list of things that they want us to fund in the budget. So I think that is really, this is a place where people are organizing and building support for their cause. And obviously we can't fund everything. Overall, you're hearing a lot about state budget challenges, and I'm hearing from a lot of other county executives about their budget challenges. And yeah, we've got them too, and Chris will talk about some of that. But we are in a better position than most because of some of the decisions that we've made in recent years. And I can credit the budget staff for that mostly, and me saying yes when they say we need to be fiscally conservative. But I really, one of the things that we want to get across as we do the brief little introduction here that Chris is going to do mostly, is that we really have come a long way in the county in recent years and done some catch up for agencies, for infrastructure, for some things in this county. So kind of want to get a little bit of a snapshot about where we've come and where we are as we talk about investing in the important things for the future. So this is really important. I did look forward to tonight. I do look forward to all of these because it's really fun hearing what you've got to say. And I also like sitting next to Lisa Rabian, your county councilwoman, and catching up on all of the important things that we don't really spend enough time talking about. So it's good to sit together and hear from you. So come on up, Lisa.
I just want to echo what Stuart said and say thank you for coming out tonight. I know you guys didn't come to hear me talk. I came here to hear you talk. So I'm saying hello. Email me if you need anything, lisa.rodvian@aacounty.org. We do have a lot of volume right now, but we're trying to get back to folks as quickly as we can. So thank you for showing up on a cold night. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, what an upgrade you guys have now. So much better than the last guy, let me tell you. Well done, voters of District 6. Well, that's true. But just to be fair, I did 2 terms, and then they kick you off when you got good at it. So, that's how it worked. So I'm going to run through a presentation. This is some budget stuff. I like telling the story of budget. I talk loud. I move fast. We're going to get through it quickly, but let's just dive in. So this is a budget message from the county exec, and just to talk him up a little bit, you've probably heard a little bit of doom and gloom, a little bit of negative media from the state budget, and maybe even some other of our county peers. I'm here to tell you we're doing okay in Anne Arundel, and that is because we've made some responsible budget decisions over the past couple years that have set us up well going forward. And so I give credit to the county executive for doing that. And you can read his personal message here on the screen. So next is the budget timeline. Budget, people think about it, it gets introduced May 1st. It gets voted on in June. They think that's a very compressed timeline. Let me tell you, we work on budget all year round, okay? So where we are right now, you can see we're circled kind of in January. This is when no decisions have been made yet. So this is why the county executive is doing these forums now, because your input and constituents' opinions can be taken into consideration before any real budget decisions are made. But we will introduce our capital budget to the Planning Advisory Board soon. We will start getting our departmental requests and review those, and then the county executive will introduce a budget May 1st. County council then has 45 days to deliberate and amend, and then pass a final budget by June 15th. It becomes effective on July 1st, the first day of fiscal year 2025. Next slide. I know you're wondering, hey, where does our money come from? Well, here's our revenue sources, and about 77% come from 2 sources. That's property tax and local income tax. That's the backbone of the county revenue. And then we have other things like recordation and transfer tax, which is real estate taxes, so local sales taxes, things like that, licensing and permits. But the majority of our funding comes from property tax and local income tax. Next slide shows you where does that money go. Well, if you said Board of Education, you were right. About half of our funds go to the public education system, over $1 billion last year. And then the rest goes to, we've broken it up into different core groups: public safety, general government, human services, land use. You can see how it stacks up in the bar chart there. But the important thing about here is just about half our budget goes to public education. The next slide shows that in a little bit more detail. So last year, or the current budget year, we gave about $881.5 million in direct funding. That's basically, we write one big check to the board, and then they conduct all the great things they do for our K through 12 students. But then there's other county funding, like we pay for the debt service for their construction projects. We pay for school health officers. We pay for school safety officers. And then starting this year, the county executive put in a special trust fund to help pay for teachers' retiree health care costs. That was a basically unfunded liability for the last 10 years, and county executive stepped up and started making an annual contribution to that, which will be very good for the long-term fiscal health of the county. So other things that happened in the 24 budget, we kept income tax rate the same or lower for 98% of our filers. So I think that's great news. Some of you in the audience, whether you realize it or not, you probably got a little bit of a tax break if you're a joint income tax filer. We also were able to increase the teacher starting salary dramatically, almost more than $8,000. We were in a deficit where other counties had higher starting salaries, and so guess what? All these teachers that were graduating out of college, other counties were scooping them up That's no good for us. So we worked together with the Board of Education, with the Teachers Union, and we were able to increase our starting salary dramatically, and that reduced vacancies significantly for this coming year. We actually were able to put in more funding to our rainy day fund. That's the county's savings account. That's where we stash money for when there's an economic downturn. So we have almost $160 million there now. And then we established a dedicated revenue stream for our affordable housing trust. And if you know anything about County Executive Pittman, you know he's been talking a lot about housing, and this is one tool we're going to use to try and help folks out. And then finally, maybe saving the best for last, we achieved a AAA grade from all three credit agencies. This is the gold star, saying the county is the best investment around. First time in county history that's ever happened, so something that I think we can all be proud of. All right, so the next slide, this is a fun one. So that gold bar you see, that's Anne Arundel County. This is showing how much rate you're paying in property tax depending on what county you're in. You can see that we're one of the lower bars, so that's a good deal for county residents. We're paying about 98 cents per $100 of assessed value. If you have friends that live in Baltimore City, they're paying over $2.20 for theirs. But you can see most of the major metropolitan counties, the populated counties, have higher rates than us. So we continue to keep those low for the benefit of our homeowners in the county. And then the next slide we're going to show, this is income tax. You can see again that gold bar is toward the right of the screen. That means we have one of the lowest rates in the whole state. Right now, the maximum allowed by law is 3.2%. And for the vast majority of our ratepayers, we're at 2.81%. Now, that gets a little complicated because what we did, and this was a major initiative of the county executive that he got through the state legislature a couple years ago, we were able to set up a tiered rate. So we have a progressive income tax rate in Anne Arundel. There's only one other county that does that now, and it's Frederick. But what that says is if you are on the lower end of the income scale, if you make less than $50,000 as a single earner or 75 as joint, you're going to pay a lesser rate of 2.7. If you're on the higher income scale, if you, as a single filer, I think it's $450,000 a year, or joint, it's around $680,000, then you're going to pay a higher rate of 3.2. But for everyone else in between, you're paying 2.81, and you can see that stacks up pretty good against our peers. You want to move to Montgomery County, you want to move to Baltimore County, guess what? You're going to pay higher taxes. Next slide, this is showing that rainy day fund history. County Executive Pittman over the last 5 years have been able to dramatically increase the county's savings. You can see this visually here. When that line starts going way up straight, that's more savings the county is putting in our reserve account, and that means then when the next economic downturn happens, and we hope it's not for a while, but it will come because everything is cyclical, we have more money that we can use to keep programs going, to keep services going, and to protect our employees. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to County Executive Pittman. He's going to talk about some of the investments that he was able to make in the current year budget.
So this slide, I don't know how well you can see it, but this is growth in general fund spending. The green line is overall county, the green dotted line. And so starting in 2016 at 0 and moving up. So the first 4 years was previous county executive. Next 5 years was under my administration. You know, the line didn't change that much when I came in. It bumped up a little in that first year in particular, but then I wanted to show that we're going to have a slide on education, which is the other one that we've increased significantly, but we put a lot of this into police and fire. Now, police and fire are very competitive, so there may be some arguments after this about, you know, who got a better deal or whatever, or what that means. You'll notice the red line, of course, is fire. They really got a raw deal in the last administration. Actually, both would say that they got a raw deal for the last 40 years, so we had some catching up to do. But so we started to bump them up, and their increase, actually, if you do the math, it's a 67% increase since our year one to now, or to this current fiscal year. Police is a 50% increase, and overall county general fund is a 30% increase. And then if you look at education on the next slide, This is maintenance of effort. The state has a formula for that, for how much counties have to do. And generally, we've done more than we have to do. You can see that when I came in, 2020 was our first budget. It jumped a lot. So we were doing a maintenance of effort that was over 40 million higher than we had to. Then COVID came. We thought the economy was going to collapse, and we tightened our belts. And you can see that in those next two. And then things got better, and we reinvested again, and we've been up to $50 million over maintenance of effort. We don't know how long we can continue that, but we would, of course, like to, because the needs are great. The next slide is a couple other things I like to brag about, and I'm really proud of. Rec and Parks capital budget has increased a lot as well. And I believe, and I think most people in this room believe, that what we can do to improve the outdoor experience, get people outdoors healthy, improve the quality of our parks, and do more parks is certainly valuable, and everybody benefits. So we now have 53 projects underway, and close to $100 million that we're investing in the last 2 years in our capital. And hopefully you're seeing some of that, and hopefully you'll like what you're seeing. We're trying to make sure that the community engagement process in that is robust, so that residents have a lot to say about what goes into their parks. And we're continuing to improve that. So the next slide is affordable housing. And Chris mentioned, this is the last one I'm going to do, I think, yeah. Chris mentioned that I believe this is really important. I think more and more people, polling shows that more and more people are recognizing that we have a housing crisis. And I think the governor said it really well when he said that housing is the key to wealth, intergenerational wealth. It's also the portal to poverty. It's also the place where people, housing insecurity, eviction, which the rates are very high throughout the state and high right now in Anne Arundel County as well, is the beginning of the spiral down, and so to poverty. So when we came in, we did invest a bit more. We started to do some rental assistance, and Arundel Community Development Services is our quasi-nonprofit that does most of this work. They get federal funds that they put into programs, and there's a whole menu of things: home ownership, rental production. So we increased it somewhat, but then that big increase where it bumps up about $10 million a year is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund that we created using the federal funds. And then last year we created a permanent revenue source for it. And a lot of counties are jealous and excited and hopefully going to do the same thing. But real estate transfer tax rate went up a little bit for properties that sell for over $1 million. And that's what's funding that program. So, and then I guess the last one I do have one more. Some of the local projects in the district, some of these you may not care about as much because they serve the whole county and they happen to be in your district, like the Joint 911 Center, the Circuit Court renovations. But we have South Shore Park, South Shore Trail, and Crownsville Hospital Memorial Park. I was just there today, which I think y'all are going to love when it gets opened up. Quiet Waters Park repairs. There's a lot of great work that's going on there to update after 30 years. And then the golf course, Eisenhower Golf Course Clubhouse, will be under construction soon. Bates Middle School HVAC, and then Annapolis Middle School roof replacement are significant in terms of dollars. And then there's this Pearl Transportation Center that we have in our capital plan that will be a place where we're going to hopefully increase bus service, and it'll be the central place where a lot of those lines go to and from at Westfield Mall. U.S. Naval Academy Bridge Bike Connector, Jennifer Road shared use path, water wastewater improvements, and some watershed improvement programs as well. So those are a few of the things, but we expect often we hear about capital projects that you all want done in the district and at these budget town halls. So hopefully we'll have even more to talk about next year. But back to Chris for some final stuff on projections, and then we will finally shut up and let you guys talk.
Thanks, Stuart. And Jenny, can you just go back to the other one for one quick second? Do we have any cyclists in the room? Anybody ride their bike in here? Yeah. So this one project, You guys ever ride on the B&A trail and then you want to ride to Annapolis, right? And what happens? You go over the bridge and then it's like, you're stuck. You got to go right in the road. Guess what? We're going to fix it, okay? This has been a long time coming, but that's that U.S. Navy bridge connector we're talking about, is we're going to finally connect the city of Annapolis with the B&A trail, which I think will be a very important project for a lot of people. So I just wanted to emphasize that a little bit. All right, so now the fun part, we're going to talk about, all right, let's look in our crystal ball. What do we see looking forward for fiscal year 25? So first, we'll talk about how we're doing so far. So as we look at the end of fiscal year 23, and we're about halfway through fiscal year 24, I can say that property tax revenue is strong, and the income tax growth is still there as well. It's been a very strong labor market. The economy, although we've had some warnings in the past, it's been sticky, it's been good, and we expect that to continue a little bit. When we think about the overall revenue picture, the one thing we have to remember, the real estate market is tremendously depressed right now, okay? Nobody's buying houses. Why? Because mortgage rates are 7% and everyone's got a 2.5% mortgage. What that means is all of that recordation and transfer revenue that the county's used to, we're not receiving that. Now that's okay because we were smart and we budgeted for that downfall. We knew it was going to happen. But what it means is that that big chunk of money we're used to getting, we're not getting that this year. But we're budgeting for it, so it's okay. As we look forward to fiscal year 25, we think that that recordation and transfer revenue will stay depressed. But when it does recover, when mortgage rates finally go down and the pent-up demand for real estate will reemerge, that's growth that we will be able to receive. So that's good. And we'll get that extra revenue without raising anybody's rate on anything. It'll just be the activity will recover. So that's the good news. The less good news is that the income tax is always vulnerable to the economy. If there were to be a government shutdown or a recession or something like that, that will have an effect on us. But right now, fingers crossed, we're hoping things will be stable. We do have what we call fund balance, which is the combination of more revenue than we projected, plus any savings that we realized for the current year budget. We are looking at a healthy fund balance, and that's helpful because we can plug those funds into our capital budget, keep that on track, and use it for other one-time costs. So the next slide I want to show you, this is kind of a graph of that recordation and transfer. And I love to show this because you see those two shark fins, right? The one on the left is the Great Recession where the housing bubble went up and then crashed, right? Well, so that's not sustainable. You see a big escalation like that, and then you know there's going to be a fall. So we learned our lesson, and over the last 10 years or so, you know, we kind of saw slow incremental growth, which is good. But then right about fiscal year 20, we started seeing it go up again. Well, guess what? We were smart. Okay, we knew that that wasn't sustainable, and so we budgeted more along that dotted red line. So we didn't chase those high amounts of revenue that was coming in. We budgeted to that red line of what we would call natural growth. And so when that fall came, and it came last year, we didn't run any deficits because we weren't planning for that higher amount. Now what that also means is you see now we've dipped below that red line of what we think is kind of the natural level of where that should be. And it will eventually recover. And when that does, that means we will get more revenue. So we look at that as potential for future growth. So that's, I think, a good news story of what responsible fiscal management will get you. All right, so if we're looking at the FY25 fiscal expectations, we have what we call non-discretionary increases. These are things we have to pay for no matter what. So that's things like debt service, the interest we pay, you know, on our bonds to build capital projects. That's things like our health insurance, our pension contribution, our negotiated agreements with our bargaining units, our employee labor units, and things like that. And then we have our operational increases to consider. So these are things like we did a lot of new projects and programs during the pandemic to help people, and that was funded with the federal dollars, the recovery funds, the America Rescue Plan. Guess what? Those are going away. So some of those projects are... So some of those projects are going away, and the audiovisual system is very upset about it. But the funding is going away, but we think that they're worthwhile continuing, so we need to transition that over to the general fund. We also, during the pandemic, had some operational changes where we noticed we're doing a lot more on police and fire overtime and things like that, and that was supported by some of the federal dollars. We're going to have to pick that up. So what that means is we've got some pressures on our budget. And then the one in red there, Board of Education funding, right? So the schools, they have a mandate to do some new things from the blueprint for education. We need to fund that. I think Dr. Bedell, the superintendent, put forth a very responsible budget, but it is going to require a lot of county resources. So the next slide gives you a little bit of a window into what it looks like to be us right now. The chart on the right, that's showing all the things that we have to budget for. Okay, now it's blank now because we're going through that process, but I thought this would be illustrative to show you kind of what it looks like. The top section of that is non-discretionary. Those are the things we have to pay for, and we're still fine-tuning what those amounts will be, but just as for this exercise, ballpark, we'll say it's about $25 million, right? Okay, well, that sounds like a lot, and it is, but the good news is if we kind of project what amount of incremental revenue or more money this year than we had last year will be, we think it'll be in the neighborhood of 80 to 90 million. That's a pretty good year. But you start subtracting things. So those non-discretionary costs, you're taking 25 million right off the top, right? We got to do that. Then we got to negotiate agreements with our employee unions, right? Well, last year, I can tell you, there was high inflation and we had a 5% cost of living increase. That was 27 million bucks. It's hopefully going to be less this year. We're looking at inflation of closer to 2.5% or 3%. If that's the case, then maybe we're around 20 million. So you subtract that. So now it's 25 million for non-discretionary. You take 20 million up for employees, and you're not left with that much left anymore. But here's what we got to pay for: library cost. What we're going to fund for the Board of Education, community college, our departmental base increases, things that got more expensive year over year, and then supplemental requests for new projects or initiatives that our departments bring to us and say, County Executive, we really want to do this. This is going to help a lot of people. We've got to try and match up resources with that. And so if you just look at what those summed up for last year, that in and of itself was 65 million. So if we add all that together, you can see we're already over the amount that we have to spend. What that means is tough decisions ahead. Now, again, I think we're in a pretty stable fiscal situation, and I think the county executive has demonstrated a good track record of decision-making and prioritization, but this is just your general warning that everybody's not going to get everything they asked for this year. Okay, so our next slide is anticipated pressures. We talked a little bit before about the inflation. It's still higher than usual, but it is moderating, which is good. That recordation and transfer tax is continuing to be low, so that puts pressure on our recurring revenue. And then the state education mandates. And there's a little bit more here that part of the Board of Ed funding comes from our friends over at the state. And they had an accelerated program over the last couple of years. They were contributing more, which was great. We were too. This year, that increase has slowed down a lot. So we were used to getting, $50 or $60 million potentially from the state. This year, it's looking like a fraction of that, just for various parts of the calculation. So we'll see. The General Assembly, the state legislature is in session. They may change things, but we're hoping that we'll get a boost of state contribution. And then all the incremental increases for debt service, health insurance, and all of that. And then finally, our departmental-based budget increases to fund expanded services and transition away from some of the federal funds. So that's what keeps me up at night. That's what we have to do, is solve this giant puzzle, which is the fiscal year budget, and try and match up people's requests with the available resources. And we'll see how it goes. But we have a couple more resources to talk to you about, which is Open Arundel. You can get a lot of information on AnneArundelCounty.org/Open Arundel on the budget and anything having to do with county government. And then a couple years ago, we started this new thing we call the Budget Buddy, which is the Budget Data and Development Explorer, where you can actually go in to the previous year budget and look at the details and see how the funding was spent. And then finally, you can get more information on this process of leading into the FY25 budget on aacounty.org, your budget. And you will also see a nice smiling picture of the county exec with his budget message there. And then finally, we'll leave you with, for anybody watching at home or anybody that couldn't attend, if you don't get a chance to testify tonight, you can please email your comments to budget-comments@aacounty.org. Every comment is read, every comment is considered, and this team puts a great composite together at the end of the process, and so that we on the budget team and the county executive have a summary of what all the public comment is when we go into the decision-making process. So with that, if the county exec has any closing words, no, then I'll turn it back over to Vincent to moderate the next part. Thank you.
All right, so now it's time for the public testimony portion of tonight. So I'm going to go over the rules of engagement here. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. You will see their timer on the screen up top here to help you keep track of your time. For the sake of time, County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Robin won't respond to every comment, but they are listening and they're taking notes. And at the end of this process, they will share their thoughts, so please make sure you stick around to hear that. I will start with the list of residents who indicated that they would like to speak this evening when they checked in. There's about 29 of you in total. I will call a few names at a time. When I call your name, please line up in that order behind the microphone. After we've gotten through the list of people who signed up to speak, we will open the floor for anyone else who would like to share their thoughts about the budget. If we don't have time to hear from you tonight, or if you think of something else that you would like to share, please email your request to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I will now call on several of you to line up at the microphone to speak. And furthermore, please speak directly into the mic so that everyone can hear you clearly. And please state your name before you begin. So first up is Christy Gilliano. And then we have Eddie Atkins and Suzanne Martin, who will pair up. And Sharon Wiegand.
Just testing. Is it on? We good? Okay. Good evening. My name is Christy Giuliano, an AACPS math teacher with 29 years of teaching experience on the last step of the AACPS county pay scale and District 6 resident. I was concerned when I saw in his budget and brief pamphlet, Dr. Bedell indicated teachers have received a total of 21% increase in compensation over the last 3 years. Yes, step 1 has risen by 21% and other steps have risen by 17 or 18%. But teachers like myself at the end of the scale, stuck on step 25, have only received 11% in salary increases over the last 3 years. Please do not get the impression all AACPS teachers have received 21%. Inflation has risen 16.6% over the last 3 years. So at 11%, teachers like myself are still behind inflation rates. The superintendent has budgeted 3% in COLA increases and a step on the current salary scale. Steps do not apply to me since I'm on the last step of the scale. I'm also concerned because 0.45% of this 3% COLA could be taken away from me since contributions to the state's Time to Care Act fund are scheduled to start in October, a mandatory contribution. Please help fund additional money to Dr. Bedell's educational budget request to help aid teachers like myself on step 25 plus. In addition, as the legislation session continues this year, please consider more amendments to the affordable housing programs you are considering. Something has to be done about raising rent costs. Why can't rent control get implemented? It is ridiculous that someone like me, after almost 30 years of teaching, still cannot afford a single one-bedroom apartment in our county without having to work a second job. Our county is forcing dependence on the residents and not promoting independence. What hope do I have to tell my students that when they enter the real world, they can achieve the American dream and live independently in a safe community? Because we've done the math, and they need at least 2 to 3 roommates and at least 2 jobs to do that. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eddie Atkins. Annapolis Immigration Justice Network is requesting an extension of funding in the amount of $125,000 for FY 2025. We serve immigrants in the county who desperately need legal representation for their cases. Fleeing and then being released at the border is only half the battle. Children arriving in our county every single month need help to navigate the complex immigration process.
AIJN formed after realizing the desperate need for immigration legal services. We offer case management support and we offer financial assistance towards the legal fees of a child's case. To date, 96% of adjudicated cases through our nonprofit have received favorable decisions. Just 3 weeks ago, our youth client Elise received the wonderful news that she was granted a visa to remain in the U.S. Elise was one of the most vulnerable clients that AIJN has encountered. At 16 years old, she was trafficked into our county by her father and brother who forced her to work. While at home, she was locked up, her movements were monitored, she went hungry, and she was assaulted. When Elise was referred to us by the local police department, we took immediate action, and within days, AIJN had secured her legal and social services. Elise said she is eager to apply to college and achieve her dreams. This funding is changing lives for the better.
Again, we are requesting funding of $125,000 to continue as a subaward under the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families. We know that legal representation brings hope, stability, and long-term solutions. An investment in AIJN is an investment in the future of our county, truly making it the best place for all. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Wiegand, and I'm a District 6 resident. I volunteer as a foster for Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. What do fosters do? Let me give you a recent example. Hope was a 6-month-old puppy who was abandoned last September along a road in a disgusting, filthy crate. She weighed 10 pounds and was covered in sores. The shelter's foster coordinator, Christina Lopez, asked me to take her home, knowing Hope would recover faster in a foster home than a shelter cage. And in fact, in 17 days, she doubled her weight and her skin cleared up and she was adopted. It's very satisfying to turn a homeless animal's life around. I have fostered 21 dogs. I have one right now. He has a broken leg and he's doing well, but he's in recovery. And I by far prefer fostering for Animal Care and Control because of the team atmosphere that Christina Lopez has created. I am only one of the 200 plus local volunteer foster families Christina oversees. Last year, more than 700 shelter pets, from tiny kittens to big dogs with broken legs, went to shelter foster homes for care. And Christina coordinates it all. She is phenomenal. Even more amazing, however, is that foster coordinator is only one of the 4 shelter jobs she has been doing for the past 3 years. She has been the shelter's volunteer coordinator, rescue coordinator, and special events coordinator, all jobs that are full-time positions at other shelters of our size. And because she's a veterinary technician, she's often recruited to help in the shelter's vet clinic. I really honestly don't know when she sleeps. Please budget for at least one more position to share Christina's duties, plus an additional vet tech for the shelter's clinic. Thank you.
Thank you. And before I call up the next round, I would just like to acknowledge that we've been joined by Alderwoman Rhonda Pendell Charles. And Delegate Stuart Smith. Okay, up next is Deborah Luzette Myers, Rachel Myers, Rose Tasker, who is my former elementary school principal, and Stephen Hammond.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Luzetti Myers. I'm a Navy veteran, and I'm currently serving on the Anne Arundel County Veterans Affairs Commission. I've lived in Anne Arundel County for 42 years now, both in Hillsmere and in Odenton. This evening, I'm speaking on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Veterans Affairs Commission. We recommend creating a Veterans Affairs Center at the Crownsville Hospital Memorial Park to be caring for veterans and military families, to welcome and to serve the sizable military constituency in Anne Arundel County. This is not a new idea. It was proposed to County Executive Pittman by his Veterans Transition Committee as he took office in 2019. Since then, and despite COVID, County Executive Pittman has taken steps to support the veteran community, and we truly appreciate your efforts. This proposal is one more step in that direction. Approximately 50,000 men and women veterans reside in Anne Arundel County. Additionally, several thousand active duty military personnel are assigned at Fort Meade, the United States Naval Academy, the Naval Support Activity, and the United States Coast Guard Curtis Creek Shipyard. When active duty families are included, this number rises to approximately 80,000 people. Military-connected students in county public schools are another 9,000. Together, this is an estimated 13% of the county constituency. By welcoming military families to this county, encouraging them to stay and live in the county and work in the county benefits from their education, their training, and their leadership in community events and business activities. By collaborating with officials at the military facilities mentioned, the proposed Veterans Affairs Center Veterans and Military Families Office could help identify Anne Arundel County as a preferred place to reside and or retire. Howard, Prince George's County, Montgomery, and Charles counties offer Veterans Affairs Centers having funded dedicated staff, and those centers make a clear statement. The county recognizes and welcomes veterans and active duty military families. Governor Moore has identified
please conclude your
2024
remarks.
as the year for military families in Maryland, and the Veterans Affairs Commission stands ready to assist in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Myers, and I manage Discoveries, the library at the mall located in District 6, and I'm a homeowner in District 5. Tonight I'm asking for your support of the Anne Arundel County Public Library fiscal year 25 budget requests. First, I draw your attention to the request asking for the full funding of our compensation study, which would bring library staff salaries up to 50% of market value in our field. Library staff are hardworking, dedicated employees who serve the residents of Anne Arundel County every day in so many ways, from presenting story time to handing out COVID tests for the health department to connecting people with resources to meet their basic needs. Library staff deserve to also be able to meet their basic needs by being paid fairly. Please include the $1.4 million for staff salaries. I'm also asking tonight for support for a specific request from my branch. Last fiscal year, Discoveries was the busiest branch in the library system with over 150,000 visitors, and each month we are seeing more people. We presented programs for 34,000 people, also leading the system. Last year, we distributed supplies to over 2,500 families from our community pantry. Although only 6 years old, our branch services have already outgrown our space and our staff as we grow and change to meet the needs of our customers. We need a larger programming room and space for adults to work in a place conducive to focusing. We are exploring options for expanding into an empty space next door to the branch, and I hope you will support that request. I'm also asking tonight for you to fund 2 additional staff positions for our branch so that we can serve our customers more effectively and push forward with the innovation our branch is known for. I invite you to stop by on a Saturday morning to see the crowd as Councilmember Rodvian did last year. You will see that we need more staff to support the customers. You both have supported Discoveries in the past by taking a chance on funding a permanent space, and we have exceeded all those expectations. Help us continue to push the boundaries by funding this request for more space and staff. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rose Tasker, and I serve as the chairperson of the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center. I'm thankful for this opportunity for sharing with you what we're trying to do at the center. We believe that it is our responsibility to serve the community, to support the identified needs. And that way, we are keeping the legacy of Mr. Bates alive. First, I want to thank you for the funding that we received this year. We were able to keep our executive director. He is the heartbeat of the Legacy Center. So thank you for that. We have supported Bates and Annapolis Middle Schools to improve student performance. We try to improve their attitudes, their behavior, and the academic achievement. I have worked with the staff at the Alternative Center for children who have been sent there instead of being sent home for poor behavior. We worked with them to develop a program. The children exhibit good behavior, good attitudes, and good academic achievement. The teachers grade each student, each day, each period, and they receive little bucks. And they use those bucks to go to our store. And the store is available for them every other week. They love it. And because they love it, they do what they need to do to get the bucks. The parents love it. They have let the Board of Education know that they're pleased with the program. There are 4 centers like this throughout the county, and we right now serve just one of them. The Wally
Ms.
H.
Tasker,
Bates,
please conclude your remarks.
the Wally H. Bates directors volunteer their time for the community. We do all that we can do to serve. And as we go forward, we would like to take on more of those centers to help the students achieve their education and develop that growth mindset and keep Mr. Wally H. Bates' legacy alive. So in closing, I'd like to ask that the county executive and his group will, excuse me, so nervous, that the county executive and our delegates will approve the grant that we get for our executive director. And I'm also asking that our school superintendent's budget be approved. And I'm so thankful for this opportunity. And just one other thing, I would like to see us bring back the character education proclamation that was done by the State Department of Education. I've looked for it, but I can't find it. So if anyone could find that for us, that would be something for us to use with our students. Thank you so much for all that you do and for making Anne Arundel County the best place for all. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Tasker. Now, it's hard to cut your former principal off, so I will not be that nice to everyone else. Stephen?
Good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present tonight. My name is Steve Hammond. I'm a resident of District 6, and I'm also a county employee with the Anne Arundel County Department of Health, Food Protection. Just a quick request from myself. I'm representing myself tonight, but I think I speak in behalf of most, if not all, other non-represented employees, that when the budget process is going on for salary proposals, that the non-represented employees, be on the same playing field as represented employees. I think it's very important to that non-represented employees provide as important services to the county as represented employees. So just request that in a nutshell, that we be kept on the same playing field. Not for asking for anything more, that would be nice, but just a level playing field with the represented employees. Thank you very much.
All right, the next group of people, Matthew Gibbons, Tara Russ, Mark Gass, Obi Atkinson, and Mike Shire. Ready when you are.
Good evening. My name is Matt Gibbons. I sit on the board of directors for the Fraternal Order of Police. Just from our daily reports across the county, here's some highlights of calls for service the department's handled just in the past couple days. Shooting, armed robbery, burglary, armed robbery, burglary, child sex abuse, fatal crash, handgun assault, shooting, burglary, handgun assault, carjacking, home invasion robbery, armed carjacking, stabbing, armed robbery. That's in the past couple days. Mr. County Executive, I'm not sure, we are not sure you understand what's going on here. Our police department staffing has been plummeting. It's on the decline, and it has been for years. We can't fill the budgeted positions we've got. Excuse me. Our agency's trying to come up with a plan to cope, but we're already stretched thin, and we can't stretch any thinner. We're going to have to make decisions about what we can't do any longer. What do you want us to stop doing? We're going to have to cut services. We don't have enough cops to do everything the community and our society expects us to do. These expectations have gone up enormously over the past decade or more as society heaps the problems that nobody else wants to deal with onto the police department. We do everything in this county. We provide health services and emergency medical services. We coach, mentor, and teach kids. We serve as crossing guards. We resolve disputes and enforce the law. We have to repair our own facilities and remove trees from the roads after storms. I put more hours on my chainsaw toward county problems than I have my own property this year. We can't do it all. We're going to have to reduce our proactive investigations into drug dealers and violent criminals. We're going to have to decide which child molester is the least offensive one that we'd have to put on the back burner and not pursue. The FOP has been sounding the alarm bells for years that this is going on. We've got plans to avert the crisis. We gave them to the county executive and the county government, and no one has listened. The county can reverse course, but it's got to happen immediately, and it's going to take strong commitment and dedication from our elected officials. You don't have to look far to see what happens when you fail to support public safety. We've failed so far.
Matthew, please conclude your remarks.
Let's start working toward the solution now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tara Russ, and I am a police officer here in the county and a board member of the Fraternal Order of Police. I became a county police officer after having worked as a Baltimore City police officer for almost 4 years. I can tell you that our police department is, as our chief says, the best damn police department. We are standing tall, but we are standing on a cliff's edge. Our staffing is going from bad to worse. I have seen what happens when an agency doesn't invest in its police department. I have seen what happens to an agency and what happens to the community. That is not what I want for our Anne Arundel County. Mr. County Executive, the status quo in how we look at recruitment and retention of police officers is no longer working. We are professionals doing a hazardous job. We are facing a new wave of auto thefts and carjackings, thefts and burglaries, assaults and shootings. We have been told for years just to hold on a bit longer and things will get better. They're getting worse. Our staffing is down and declining. As a supervisor, I see the toll it takes on our officers as I am constantly having to tell them that they need to stay late and come in early to fill staffing gaps. Officer, I am sorry you can't go home to your family just yet. I'm sorry you have to suddenly find childcare or miss picking up your kid from the bus stop. I'm sorry that you can't get some rest or spend this holiday with your family. But that's how our county works. We fail to invest. Why does this county always wait until it's an emergency to fix a problem? Our staffing problem isn't an emergency. It was an emergency last year, and there are now fewer cops on the street today than there were 12 months ago. There is more crime than there was last year. If that doesn't tell you the status quo isn't working, I don't know what will. We have hundreds of officers eligible to retire and empty seats in our academy classes. It's only going to get worse. We have to act now, and you have to act now. Please don't let us fall into the traps that have caught our neighbors. Those traps are much easier to avoid than to escape from. But you must do something to avoid them. Stop kicking the can down the road and work with us to address our staffing crisis. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Ass. I'm the Vice President of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. Our county has enormous demands for our police officers. Agencies from around the state want to send their recruits to our agency for training, and we are training them for free to go work elsewhere in the state. Why? Well, we have plenty of room in our training academy classes. We used to have academy classes of up to 50 recruits. Today, we are lucky to get 10. Several years ago, we had more highly qualified applicants than we had positions available. We could choose the cream of each crop. Now, we will take anyone who meets the basic minimum standard. Is that who this county wants responding to its emergencies today? Is that who you want leading the agency in the future? The people you hire today will be the supervisors, commanders, and chiefs tomorrow. If you build a house out of toothpicks, you shouldn't wonder why it collapsed a few years later. Invest in cinder blocks. Invest in our police department. Invest in the officers that serve you proudly and bravely. An investment today saves you from failure tomorrow. Spending a little more money now to get back to recruiting the best will save you millions of dollars. Just ask the other local agencies in the area who have paid out on lawsuits recently. If we recruit and retain the best of the best, we will have the professional police department that our citizens demand. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is O'Brien Atkinson. I'm the president of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. Thank you once again for hosting these town halls and encouraging us to tell our stories and make our requests. I've seen many county executives come and go, but one thing that is consistent is that when it comes to staffing our police department, every single county executive has kicked the can down the road. There's no accountability for the likes of Janet Owens, John Leopold, or Steve Shue. Mr. Pittman, you will not be in office as county executive in a few years when our agency continues to fall apart. But just like you, we have an obligation to this county. Together, we have an obligation to keep this county safe. We have that mutual obligation to all the families gathered here today. In our agency, we teach our officers about the duty to intervene. When we see something going wrong, we have a legal and moral duty to step up and step in. We need you to do that for us now. You have the power and authority to prevent our agency from continuing this dangerous backslide. Our county council found a way to add more police positions last year when your administration cut the department's staffing request, but the council cannot negotiate the pay and benefits package that will ensure our police department can hire and retain the best police officers. I know you don't think we can fill those positions, and you may be right. Despite some improvements, we still fall short of our neighboring jurisdictions and the needs of our citizens. Like our teachers, we don't want to see our police officers running off to other counties with higher starting salaries. We know your administration has been scrutinizing the department's overtime budget. It is a lot, but we are hundreds of officers short of where we need to be. When are we expected to do the jobs you ask of us, if not during overtime hours? We can't hire the officers we need unless we increase starting salary and make our county look like a better place to work than our surrounding jurisdictions. That means investing in a higher starting salary and hiring officers to do the job on regular duty. You're saving money by not paying the salaries for officers you haven't hired and wondering why the overtime is so high. Crime is rising all around us, and our staffing levels are falling.
OB, please conclude your remarks.
We started behind the curve, and we will continue to fall. We just need you to help us. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mike Shire. I sit on the board of the county's Fraternal Order of Police, representing the active and retired police officers of this county. I've been attending these town hall meetings since their inception. I've spoken to the county executive at each one. tonight I'm speaking to you, the public. I'm speaking to you because the county executive does not seem to understand the issue that my fellow officers have been talking about. He doesn't seem to be listening to his law enforcement leaders. I've heard County Executive Pittman say that public safety is the most fundamental obligation of government. So it's baffling that he has allowed our police department to fall in such a crisis. It's been a crisis growing since Janet Owens fired 16 police officers in 2003. It was made worse by County Executive Leopold reducing our agency's budgeted staffing to hide our vacancies. And it's a problem that continues to get worse as County Executive Pittman fails to right those wrongs. Our agency is on the brink of being unable to fully serve the community. So you need to tell him, what do you want us to not do? Do you want us to not be able to answer 911 calls? What crimes do you want us to not be able to respond to investigate? Do you want us to not be training for the critical incidents like 888 Bestgate Road, the Capitol Gazette shooting? Paying proper wages and benefits is not spending. It's investing in the safety of our county. Tell him what services you want us to give up, or tell him to take immediate action to invest in our police officers to address our staffing crisis. If you don't do this, it will only get worse. The FOP makes proposals every year to improve our recruitment and retention. They're almost always rejected. The county claims we offer competitive pay and benefits. It's not working. They did a 4-year study, employee compensation classification study, $500,000 they spent. Top recommendation, change the title of personnel officer to human relations director. We're not competitive in the job market. It's a fact that's reflected by the fact that we have fewer and fewer police officers in our county each year. And this year, as you heard, he's coming after the overtime that sustains us, that sustains our staffing. We need you to step up and tell him what you want. Do you want to live in the safest county for all? Tell him. He's right there. Thank you.
Okay, the next group is Aaron Hanratty, David Delia, Marcus Jones, and Katie Cook.
Hello, my name is Erin Hanratty, and I'm an assistant branch manager at Discovery, the library at the mall. I'm here tonight to advocate specifically for the full salary adjustment for library staff and for 2 additional staff members at Discovery Library. Discovery first opened in 2018 in the West Philadelphia Mall, and since then, the number of customers utilizing our space and services has grown at an impressive rate. Compare 5,000 visits in December 2018 to well over 14,000 this past December, which was the highest number of visits out of all 16 branches in the county. Program attendance has tripled, growing from 10,000 customers in fiscal year 2019 to 34,000 in fiscal year 2023. In the month of December, over 2,800 customers attended programs presented by Discovery staff, which was more than double that of the next busiest branch in the county. Clearly, Discovery's The Library at the Mall is playing an important role in the lives of Anne Arundel County residents, and I feel proud of the work my team and I have done to support the community. But in order to sustain this level of growth and to keep improving on the services we already provide, several things are necessary. It is imperative that we receive the remaining $1.4 million to address pay inequities and bring salaries up to a level that is competitive with the neighboring library systems. Library staff have demonstrated high levels of creativity, skill, and dedication to serving Anne Arundel County residents, and we do not want to lose them to another county. Discoveries has already expanded its space once to better accommodate our growth, and we are talking about the need to expand again. An expansion would provide a larger programming space, expanded collection for borrowers, quiet study space, and a community pantry space that is more conducive to serving the hundreds of families it routinely supports. Lastly, in anticipation of further growth, we are asking for 2 additional staff members. Increasing the number of staff at our location will ease the workload on our current staff and put us in line with the staffing levels of the next busiest branches, which saw less visitors and program attendees. Without these 2 additional staff members, our capacity will be limited. Serving the community with a team of like-minded, talented individuals fills me with purpose, but we need your support in order to continue this valued work. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Marcus Jones, proud founding board member of the New Village Academy Public Charter School. New Village Academy was approved last August to operate a public charter school in Anne Arundel County by unanimous vote of the Board of Education. Dr. Bedell enthusiastically endorsed our application because it serves an urgent need in our county and in Annapolis in particular. Across the country and here in Annapolis, there's a crisis of student disengagement in high school. Too many young people, especially from marginalized communities, don't see a future for themselves that high school can help them reach. New Village Academy seeks to change this by ensuring our students feel known, connected, empowered, and accountable so they can take charge of their own education and future. We'll open next fall for 150 students, growing to 250 at Westfield Annapolis Mall, helping to reinvent the mall as a hub of community interaction. New Village will be home to the county's first in-person school-based health center where students and families will have access to physical, mental, dental health services, even if they're undocumented or underinsured. Building a facility like ours is expensive. We must meet all the requirements for a much larger public school, but unlike in many other states, in Maryland, the capital costs for its construction are entirely the responsibility of our small school. Fortunately, we were selected as one of the most innovative public schools of 2024 by the New Schools Venture Fund, which has provided us with some startup funding. We've also raised more than $1.2 million locally, including support from the Westfield Mall itself. But we need the help of the Anne Arundel County government to build our facility and serve the needs of our community in the same way that other charter and contract schools in the county have received from the county budget in the past. We hope that you'll join us in doing high school differently. Help us launch all our young people into thriving careers, strong character, and active citizenship by including the funds for our facility construction in the budget for the coming year. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Delia, and I'm from Arundel on the Bay, a small peninsula community that we think is the best place in the best place. But we're prejudiced. What I would like to do is to make sure that you understand I'm not here tonight to ask for a specific project or for a specific amount of money. I am here to make a pitch for what we consider to be one of the most vital organizations within county government that is not glamorous, but where our rubber meets the road almost every day, and that's the Department of Public Works. And it's not because Karen's sitting over there. It's because it's the truth. Every day, our county citizens are touched by the Department of Public Works. These are the folks that shovel ice and snow, put salt down, trim the trees, remove the trees themselves. They take care of the drainage, an especially important issue in Arundel on the Bay, the swales, the trash and recycling, and of course watershed protection. One thing that certainly nobody talks about very much is the water and sewer projects. We just recently got one of our 5-year projects completed that probably should have been completed in about a year, and that's our supplemental sewage pumping station. So I'd like to say that although we recognize, and I recognize, that half of our budget goes to education, another big chunk, 20%, goes to public safety, I don't think the Department of Public Works has enough money in their budget to do what needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Katie Cook. I am a resident of District 6, an elementary school educator, and a member of Anne Arundel County Public Libraries Foundation Board. Thank you, Councilman Rodvian and County Executive Pittman, for your support of the library's requests in the past, especially funding for kindergarten readiness programs and last year's historic increase in salaries for Anne Arundel County Public Library employees. These salary adjustments are helping to get library employees to parity with library professionals in neighboring counties. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget, and specifically asking you to consider our top supplemental requests: money for kindergarten readiness programs and the final installment of market rate adjustments for our dedicated library staff. Our library staff members deliver important programs to patrons of all ages. Today I would like to focus on the programs that get the children of our county ready for kindergarten. Mr. Pittman, you stated that by 2026 you would like to reduce by half the percentage of children who enter kindergarten not demonstrating readiness. Some people in the audience tonight might not know that in 2023 only 43% of children in this county came to kindergarten ready for school based on the social, emotional, and academic goals laid out by the Maryland State Department of Education. Our librarians work every day to help change this statistic. Anne Arundel County Public Library's Kindergarten Readiness Initiative includes a comprehensive commitment to quality early literacy programs like Babies in Bloom, Toddler Time, and Story Time in our branches. Librarians create outreach programs for underserved communities using outreach vans that are equipped with Wi-Fi and giveaway books to help build home libraries. Librarians also provide wraparound services such as job help and computer training for parents and guardians. They coordinate access to social workers in our branches and stock and staff our community pantry. Please show Anne Arundel County Public Library staff that their work to serve our community and make it a better place for all of our residents to live is appreciated by funding the library's supplemental budget request. Thank you.
Okay, so the next group is going to be Helen Raven, and then Shelley Rowe and Barbara Randolph, who are teaming together. Jill Kidwell and Michelle Hellstern, who are also teaming together. And Sarah Nebel.
Good evening. My name is Helene Raven, and I live in Hillsmere. And I have kind of an unusual request. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for additional funding. I hear the comments that people are making, and they're very sincere. What I'm asking for is something different. I'm asking for increased efficiency and accountability of the county bureaus, departments. What I've noticed lately, and maybe other people have too, when you're in a grocery store, you see people who are definitely in their senior ages working. Why are these retired people working? Because we have increased inflation, we have increased expenses. We need to take a look at that and say, what are we doing with the money that's given to the county to serve our constituents, to make everything more efficient, to save more money, tighten the belts? And I find this very important. I look around and see different things. I see county buildings where you still have a lot of people working from home. If that's the case, bundle the offices, turn off the lights in the empty spaces. I would be more than willing to serve on any commission or any committee that looks towards finding ways to be more efficient and more accountable for spending county money. So I thank you very much for the time for being here. I appreciate the work that Vincent does in reaching out to the constituents. I appreciate the time and energy of giving people an opportunity to talk. And once more, I am willing to volunteer to help with that because I see a lot of these people working in stores. And I know that with assessments for our houses going up and taxes going up, things are going to be more difficult for them. And I'm simply asking for more conscious use of our county money. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Shelley Rowe, and I am the board chair of the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra and a resident of District 6. Let me just start. We're here as a group here together to make good use of your time tonight. Let me just start by first saying thank you. Thank you so much for the funding that the county has provided for several years now to help us fund the Pops in the Parks concert at Quiet Waters Park and at Downs Park. Not only thank you for the funding, but thank you for coming. You know firsthand what it's like and what the energy is like in those concerts, and it's so exciting, and we want to continue that. And the other thing we want to say thank you are the unsung heroes of those concerts, and that's your county park staff. We'd be remiss if we didn't recognize them. Thank you so much. They're just a joy to collaborate with. We are going to try to make good use of your time, so we're going to collaborate here. I'm going to introduce you to Barbara Randolph. She's our interim executive director for the symphony. Jill Kidwell is here. Jill is on our board. She's our past board chair. Michelle Hellstern also on our board. And Barbara's going to start off by sharing some good news about the way we've used your funding last year. And if there's any data or anything you want, Barbara's the person.
Thank you. So essentially last September, you were present, thank you. 5,500 persons attended for free our performances at Quiet Waters and Downs. It was exciting. Families and friends picnicked together, kids danced and played, and we had big sound coming and resonating from the stage from our sections of woodwinds, brass, percussion, and strings. You've seen how people are uplifted by the music. ASO believes that the power and versatility of the music we perform have the potential to evoke a myriad of sensations. The intent is not just to entertain, but to facilitate an exploration of symphonic music at both an individual and collective level. Maestro Novo ensures that the audience they're active participants in the musical journey, explaining a lot of the pieces in the background. But also, I'll share with you that the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra has a role in the economic development of the county and the quality of life. We are a significant contributor to fiscal health, and essentially our data has shown that we contribute essentially about $270,000 to local businesses are added during our performance season each year. Thank you. I'll turn this over.
Great. And in addition to economic impact, we believe that our concert coming up for this particular Pops in the Park 2024 is going to have significant impact on our community residents. We are dedicating this one to the history of the celebration of the Civil Rights Act, the 60th anniversary, and this really aligns with Governor Moore's declaration that 2024 is Maryland State's recognition of the Civil Rights Act. So we believe that this concert, which will honor that act, is going to have particularly large relevance and significance to the community.
As you probably are aware, you have in the past funded us at $40,000 for those two concerts, and that's been for several years now. And in the beginning, that was enough. We, like everybody else, have experienced inflation, and we can explain what that's like for us and what it looks like in a symphony. The actual cost of those two concerts is $60,000. Now, we heard what you said about the budget. We listened to Chris. We are not here to ask you for $60,000. We would like to ask for your consideration for $50,000. And what we're prepared to do is to look to corporate sponsorships to close the gap, because we do appreciate it's a tight budget year this year. For the symphony, we bring good news. It's a feel-good concert, and we believe we bring a lot of impact to our community. Michelle has the last word.
So we want to take this opportunity to say thank you again. Thank you for considering our request for $50,000 for the next season for the symphony, and we look forward to seeing you and every one of you come and participate in our events this summer. Thank you, and we really are looking forward to more fun with the symphony and the support of the county. Thank you.
I will say those concerts are fun, and my favorite was Star Wars.
That's a hard act to follow. All right. So I am Sarah Nebel. I'm the Executive Director of Scenic Rivers Land Trust, and we are a nonprofit dedicated to conserving the natural and scenic areas in Anne Arundel County. And so a couple of years ago, we started our Healthy Forest program to start addressing the invasive plant species infestations on conserved forests. And we partnered with Department of Rec and Parks to start addressing the 100 acres of invasive plant infestations in that wonderful publicly accessible park with over 20 miles of trails. And we're addressing about 30 acres right now, but it's just a start, and we have 60 more acres to go. And in 2 years ago, Rec and Parks had a budget of about $500,000 for green infrastructure projects, one of which was a county-wide park plan for invasive implementation, and also for invasive control itself. And last year, the budget got cut to $100,000. And so that really slowed our progress that's for all county parks for invasive control. And so I really hope that that budget can be increased to $500,000 this year.
we can't let our forests fail us, and right now it's a lot easier to control those problems than 5 years from now when all the plants have grown super fast and taken over our forests. You know, imagine it's a house, the roof is leaking right now, and you want to keep it from falling over altogether. So, and we'd also like a dedicated position for invasive coordination across county departments and with your partner nonprofits. So thank you.
Okay, up next we have Gina Post, Nicole Murphy, Leah Paley, and John Wakefield.
Good evening, and thank you for being here and hearing our concerns. My name is Gina Post, and I'm one of the assistant branch managers at Discoveries, the library at the mall. I'm here tonight in support of our budget request. Although Discoveries is the youngest branch in the system, we remain the busiest branch in the county in both library visits and program attendance. Because you are sitting at this table tonight and we're all in this room tonight, I think we can all agree how important these meetings are. The purpose being to find solutions for how to meet community need. I think we can also agree that there's a tremendous amount of need in our county and a growing need for libraries. Many of the programs we offer are targeted towards kindergarten readiness, an initiative I know that you care a lot about, and one that affects the entire county population. With more than double the amount of customers and programs compared to our larger branches, our customers have come to not only want our programs, they rely on them. In order for our branch to sustainably meet the needs of our community, we are requesting 2 more staff and additional space. A space that can safely house the 100+ people that show up for story time, and staff, additional staff who can help present those programs and prevent burnout in the current staffing system. A space that can adequately provide quiet environment for working adults and tutors, and staff who can provide tech help to seniors or those with limited digital literacy, and who can help run the community pantry that serves over 200 families on a monthly basis, and staff who can bring library outreach services and programs to the underserved neighborhoods throughout Annapolis. If the data you heard earlier and the voices in this room are not enough to convince you, we warmly invite you to attend one of our well-loved programs on a busy weekend, or show up at a pantry day and see the line out the door and meet the community members who visit us for help. At the bare minimum, library staff would appreciate being paid the remainder of what we deserve. We are grateful for being included in the last budget, and it has made a positive impact for some staff, but it doesn't change the fact that Anne Arundel County library staff are still doing the job for less pay than those in surrounding counties who do the same work. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Okay, cool. Good evening, Mr. Pittman. Good evening, Ms. Rodbian. Good evening, county leaders, and hello, neighbors. I'm back here again this year. I came last year, and I wanted to come back and thank you for your commitment and your work to improve our county. And I wanted to thank you for funding our schools last year for the 6% cost of living. I'm a parent of 3 Anne Arundel County public school students. One of them graduated last year. I'm an AACPS teacher, and I'm back this year to specifically talk about what I talked about last year, the salary disparity that we have between counties. Last year I explained that I started my teaching career in Montgomery County, and I left to teach in my own community here in Anne Arundel. When I left Montgomery County in 2017 as a part-time employee, I explained that I made more than I made in Anne Arundel County last year as a full-time employee. So there is a significant disparity in our salaries, and it sounds like it's the same thing for other people that are serving our county and the police and fire department and the libraries and in public works. So what I'm here is what you can probably guess about. I'm here about the same concern. We have fewer students entering. Oh gosh, I only have 27 seconds. Fewer students going to college to become educators. We have more competition for those graduates. At the start of the school year, we had 198 vacancies. We have 118 vacancies remaining, and it's January now. More teachers are retiring. More teachers are leaving for other careers. More teachers are leaving for other counties. It is critical that we change this salary disparity to retain and attract teachers. I'm asking you now to both meet and exceed the County Board of Education's budget request. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leah Paley. I am the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here this evening. I did want to express thanks to the county for your past support, your strong partnership over the years, including last year where we received $1.38 million in ARPA funding to support our work. Without these funds, we could not have the positive impact on the community that we're providing every day. On behalf of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank, I respectfully ask that you include $1.5 million in the FY25 budget for the work of our organization. This funding will be used to purchase food at competitive wholesale prices from area vendors. Our size and scope allow the food bank to acquire the healthiest resources at the lowest available price point. Purchasing food as opposed to relying on heavily donated food donations ensures that our organization can provide our under-resourced neighbors with more nutritious foods, which are linked to better health outcomes, disrupting the negative social determinants of health frequently associated with low-income households. All of our services are provided free of charge to our partners and the neighbors we serve. We're unique among food banks in our state, which charge their partner pantries for certain foods and impose memberships, fees, shared maintenance, and delivery fees. Last year, in collaboration with our 76 network partners, we distributed 3.4 million pounds of food to our neighbors experiencing food insecurity, and that includes 1 million pounds of fresh produce and lean proteins. The need for supplemental assistance throughout our county, food assistance, has increased significantly. It has not gone down. Currently, we're averaging 48,000 instances of service each and every month, and that's 13% more than it was at this time last year. And while the food bank and our partners are serving anyone that comes to us, we are prioritizing areas of our county where the need is the greatest. And so I will end by thanking you for your past support and strongly encouraging you to include $1.5 million in the county's budget for the food bank. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Wakefield. I am a resident of District 6, County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Rodby, and it's good to see you again. Last year, I attended this town hall for the budget, and County Executive Pittman, you said something that has really stuck with me. In looking at the presentation, you said, you get what you pay for. And I saw a graph last year, which I saw again this year, that has our tax rates by county. And you see a bunch of these counties up at the top with the maximum tax rate, and then you see us down low, and I do a fist pump and I go, yeah. But then you showed us a graph of teacher pay, which had a bunch of these counties up at the top and then a sharp drop, and we were sort of down near the bottom. And thanks to my quality public education, I was able to notice that those two graphs looked identical. And it occurs to me that we have these staffing crises in police and in education and in firefighting, and the librarians who come out to these meetings and ask for raises. That's happening in every county, but it is much harder to address those if you are still not paying competitively with your neighbors nearby. So my question is, how are we doing on that front after investing more money into education and into these things? We saw a graph where the funding is going up. So I'm wondering how that's going and if we are seeing results on that. And I commend you for finding ways to raise revenue that haven't raised my taxes. But also, I'm still willing to pay for the good things because we deserve to have teachers and firefighters and librarians. So, thank you.
Chris, did you hear that, Chris? Good, okay. The next group of people are Janet Norman, Joan Brannigan, Jennifer Mizrahi, and Lauren Keslick.
Good evening. I'm Janet Norman. I'm chair of the Annapolis Education Commission, which is a City of Annapolis commission appointed by the mayor and city council to represent the interests of our Annapolis cluster schools to AACPS and through the city and to you. So I'm here tonight to advocate for Dr. Bedell's proposed budget and the positions within there for the social worker positions that's desperately needed here at Annapolis High School, and the middle school sports funding. So many of our students lose connection to school altogether without that continued middle school engagement. I welcome you to Annapolis High. We have, and thank you to our custodians and all the other people that keep this place humming. We have 2,150 students pulsing through this building. We, as Anne Arundel County, pay a lower percentage of our overall tax budget to schools than Howard County, than Montgomery County, and others. So if you think that the schools are living plush on the hog, I welcome you to use the bathrooms on your way out, and you'll see that we are scraping by. But our kids are, just as the police have told you, our kids are living these lives of trauma that our police are experiencing. Shootings in their neighborhood. We have one social worker for 2,150 students here, and she is completely overwhelmed by the amount of need and trauma. Our kids are picking up guns because they're afraid. They're afraid of their own safety. They're afraid that they don't have a future that they are being connected to. So Dr. Bedell, who himself came from a background of poverty and rose to be the leader we need him to be now, got connected through his school. And we need you to fund the positions that will keep our kids engaged. Every single person in this room benefits from the services that our connected students provide to them through electrical, bus drive. You saw during the pandemic, essential workers are coming from our students, and we need your help in funding the school budget. Thank you.
I'm Joan Brannigan. I'm a resident of District 6. I volunteer with an organization called ACT, Anne Arundel Connecting Together. And one of the things we're working a lot on is housing for those who are essential workers and who can't afford the housing prices that are going up here. And I know you've been working on it as a county executive and this county council, and I appreciate that, but things didn't work out, and we need them to work out. So please keep working on it. It needs to be done. And the second thing I'm going to ask for is the selfish thing. I know you guys are working on improving the transportation system in the whole city, but give us a bus out in Heritage Harbor so we can get into the city.
I am Jennifer Mizrahi, and I'm here to, first of all, thank you for your leadership and for the great work that the county is doing for all of us. I want to start by saying the importance of public visibility of positive action, how much I appreciate the weekly newsletters that talk about the good things that are happening and the opportunities to engage. I really appreciate the social media of things like when Lisa Bregovin gives blood, putting it on Facebook. I think these kinds of positive role models make a really big difference. I'd love to see the county invest more in capacity building for the nonprofits and the libraries to do more fundraising for themselves and more recruiting of volunteers, perhaps by linking some of your grants to matching grants and having specific trainings for them to be able to learn how to sell sponsorships, charge fees, get memberships, that sort of thing, so they can be more self-sustaining. There are a lot of people who can afford to be more generous in our community, who are sitting on the sidelines, who are greatly connected to some of these institutions in a very big way. I really want to thank the police for the safety that they're trying to do in a very strapped situation, particularly as a member of the Jewish community where we've been facing tremendous anti-Semitism. We really appreciate the way the police and the county executive have stepped up for us to help us feel safe in this community. I also just wanted to leave a question about resiliency and mitigation, about climate. It's something that I've discussed with each of you. The problems are only going to get worse. I live in Fishing Creek Farm. We've had flooding disasters 3 times in 6 weeks. It's very, very significant. And as you budget, it's only going to get worse. So how do you think about the budget in terms of ensuring both reducing our carbon footprint and also fortifying our communities? So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lauren Keslak. I am a volunteer and foster at Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, and we are very grateful for the investments that you have made in our shelter, which is an essential service that is provided to the community. But as I think you've heard me say the past few years, our facility is outdated, and soon it is going to be pushed by an adjacent construction project, and it really no longer fits the needs of this growing county population. And I'm here to ask you to please consider starting the process, I know it doesn't happen overnight, of funding a new shelter for our county. The shelter is frequently crowded with animals, as most shelters and rescues across the country have been post-COVID. And with increased population as well as increased pet ownership, the shelter is pushed to its limit, if not beyond, of its capacity to care. Our current facility does not meet current shelters guidelines. For animal shelters, some of our kennels are broken, they have sharp edges, they're rusty, they cut dogs, they cut people. It happens from, a couple times a month. There are no sinks in animal care areas, with the exception of like the food room and a couple other small areas, but there's nothing in the dog gallery or the cat gallery. For instance, parvo, which we had an outbreak of over the summer, it can't be killed by hand sanitizer. It has to be removed by washing your hands. And there's several other zoonotic diseases that are the same. So also, when a shelter is at its capacity or over, everything is stressed out and it's more likely to get sick. And when animals are stressed and they're sick, you're more likely to have it spread and you're more likely to have casualties. For instance, what's going on, unfortunately, in PG County right now. Compared to an animal that's in your home that's safe and comfortable. It's painfully loud in the spaces. It bleeds over into the cat spaces. It stresses these animals out. There's next to no natural lighting. And as these animals are sitting here being warehoused for long periods of time, they're deteriorating mentally, and they're more likely to bite, which is a public safety issue. So the construction's only going to make that worse. It's going to be loud, it's going to be muddy, it's going to not be great. So in conclusion, as someone who does work in public health and safety and frequents construction sites, I will say I'm not looking forward to this at all. And I'd really be happy to send you information about the new shelter guidelines and how we can improve. So thank you very much.
Okay, we have our last group of pre-registered testimonies. So if Priscilla Canyon, Dylan Beeler, and David Michaels could come up to the mic.
You start. My phone just rang. I need to turn it off. Ringing in my ear.
Good afternoon. My name is Dylan Baylor, and I live in County Council District 6. I'm here tonight as a new member of the Anne Arundel County Public Library Board. And I'd like to thank you both for your recent appointment to the board. I'm really excited to be a part of it. And thank you for all your support that you've contributed to the libraries over the past 2 terms. Including last year's historic increases in salary adjustments for our critical staff. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget and specifically to ask for your consideration of our top supplemental request, the final installment of the market rate adjustments for the dedicated library staff. You all know the amazing work that our libraries do, and I think you've heard it a lot tonight. From giving out over 4,000 gun locks, to giving out hundreds of thousands of COVID test kits, to having over 6,000 different programs last year, and giving out over 1 million books, movies, and more. We, I think, serve a critical role in this community, and having been born and raised in this county, and still living in the county, we don't really have a variety of community centers, and though that's changing with the Severance Center and the Ralph Bunche Center, our libraries do serve that purpose in the vast majority of our county. And the backbone of those libraries is our dedicated library staff. As you have heard tonight, they're not paid comparable rates to our neighboring counties, and we're at risk of losing them. So I would just once again ask for your support in getting that last market rate adjustment, and to say thank you for all your work, and thank you, Vincent, for everything you do, and also thank you to the library staff that are here tonight. So thank you, guys.
Good evening, Executive Pittman, Councilmember Rodvine, Vincent, good to see you. I have to read who I am. I'm David Michaels, District 6. I work as the manager of the women's program, outreach, and now development for the Chase Home. It's a 133-year-old nonprofit. We currently represent women facing housing insecurity. Since 2021, we have assisted nearly 150 women who faced imminent eviction, many single, head of household with children. Our partners are the Benevolence Coalition, which you're all aware of, the ACDS, Department of Aging, Community Legal Services. We assist these organizations with rent eviction money. Chase Home supports budgetary funding to continue the county executive's rent eviction prevention program. The one woman mentioned, which I'm very interested in development, which is matching funds. We can match funds if you give funds. We continue to look for grants, financial assistance. I'm working on corporate support, all toward housing and these programs. The Chase Home Board of Directors and Heather East, our executive director, has budgeted $75,000 this year to help women with 2 programs. We have an eviction prevention program, which we work with ACDS and Community Legal Services, and then an emergency discretionary fund, which anyone can access from the Benevolence Coalition. We're involved with the county and the state to find, invest, and build affordable housing. And behind the scenes, we are working to address organizations who address homelessness, and we support food pantries. So anything that you can do that we can help you do, that's how we can collaborate and make a difference in our community. And thanks for all the work that you're doing on affordable housing. And we have October 29th, 2024, from your support, we are doing the 2nd annual Anne Arundel County Affordable Housing Symposium at the Crown Plaza in Annapolis. So it's the Tuesday before the Tuesday. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Caney, and I apologize for my phone. I just want to start by saying I adopted a 10-year-old cat from animal control this past year, and it rules my house. I love it. It's great. Anyway, I want to thank you, especially Lisa, for the plastic bag ban. It's in effect. It's great. I'm so excited, and I'm hoping to see more plastic elimination bills this year. I want to talk about housing. I really am excited that you both have this as a high priority for affordable housing. It's very, very, very important. I would very much like to see Anne Arundel County do as much as possible to support the AARP's Livable Community Initiative. Every effort to use zoning to allow unused buildings to be converted to housing will only help the health of the community. Zoned houses or lots that are zoned as R1 could be changed to allow multiple housing. Property tax credits for developers is something we ought to be considering, but AARP has a lot of different ideas that can help you with affordable housing. Now I have a concern. So my house was just reassessed, and it increased in value by $150,000. I only bought it 2 years ago. So the tax rate is low, but my actual dollars paid are going to go way up. So what's going on? Was the whole county reassessed, and was that done based on the inflated COVID sales? Or is something else going on? I don't know. My last concern is Riva Road. We have Riva Road out here, and there are all those new apartments that are going to be opening very soon. The traffic is already horrible on Riva Road at that whole section between Truman and the interstate, actually going into Parole. Are there any plans for traffic management? I don't see anything coming up. I don't see anything in the works that I'm aware of, and I'd really like to see that get better. There are times when the traffic light does not work at Truman and Riva Road, and the traffic backs way up, and we watch the cycles not include that particular direction. Yeah. And the only way out is to turn right on Riva Road and then come back again. So I don't know what's happening there, but it's only going to get worse. Thank you.
All right, we will now open the floor up to anyone who did not sign up in advance, but maybe you felt motivated or inspired by the testimony tonight. So if you would like to say a couple words, please line up at the microphone.
Hi, good evening. My name is Will Johnson, and I work at Point Pleasant Elementary in Glen Burnie. I'm on the board of TAC, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of TAC, the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County. I want to address the concerns we all share regarding the recently proposed education budget for fiscal year 2025. While our superintendent has laid out the fiscal challenges with commendable detail, it's essential to acknowledge the personal impact this budget may have on each of us. We appreciate the County Executive Pittman's move to increase starting salaries, but we cannot ignore the potential pay discrepancies that may affect our livelihoods from the other counties in the state. We have to do more to keep teachers long-term, not just to hire them in the short term. The statement made by the superintendent a couple weeks ago about starting pay discrepancies raises serious questions, and the assurances about reduced workload and improved morale do not align with the reality many of us are facing in the classroom. I currently cannot afford to live in this county, and when my car broke down last week, I could not afford to get another one without the assistance of family. The increasing vacancies and the looming possibility of the changes to our health insurance create uncertainty about our financial well-being. As educators, we pour our hearts into our work, and we deserve a budget that reflects the value of our contribution. When the budget gets to the county level, I urge you to reconsider and increase the proposed budget for AACPS. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Turman. I live in Crownsville. And one of the things that John Wakefield said earlier is something that I've thought of since I moved here 10 years ago from Montgomery County. You get what you pay for. And I was shocked when I moved here that for this house that cost twice as much, I was paying less in property taxes. But that is a good thing. But on the other hand, you get what you pay for. Because we can't pay here for the salaries for the police, the fire, and the library folks that we've heard from and the others, and some of the results and the outcomes show. When I look at the resources going into Montgomery County Schools or Howard County versus Anne Arundel, I can see the outcomes that were constrained by those resources on the input side. It's a whole lot of hard-working people, but they don't have the resources they need as a group. And it is something we all are involved in. And I would note that, as Mr. Wakefield said, I'm not excited about it, but I'm willing to pay more to get more to the degree we be able to. And I do think that's an important thing to think about. We are wanting to be the best place for all. And a challenge for that is to be able to have the folks be able to afford to live here who serve as county employees. So thanks for your time.
All right, last call. All right, well, thank you, everyone. That concludes the public testimony portion of tonight. I appreciate you all coming out and letting us know what you want to see prioritized in the upcoming budget. And thank you for laughing at my corny jokes, even, when they weren't so great. I will now turn it over to our elected officials, starting with Councilwoman Rodvian.
I wrote down some notes. I actually typed lots of notes, and I typed every single person's name and what you spoke about. I may not have gotten the spelling of your name right, but I know I want you to know that I heard you. And you reminded me about why I feel so lucky to represent this district, because the vast majority of this room is filled with public servants who love this community and will do almost anything for this community, and volunteers who fill in a lot of the important gaps that government can't always do, or that government needs nonprofit support from. Believe me, I'm going to be looking to provide as much of the funding that was requested tonight as possible. I am fighting for you because you are fighting for our community, and that makes me so proud to be here and to be able to represent you. So that's all I'll say for tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
I don't know, I could go through everything and give you hints about what we may or may not do, but Chris Trumbauer is sitting back there, and I'm not allowed to do that. We have a process, and when we're done with these town halls, what we do is we hear from all the department heads, and they bring us their supplemental budget requests for new things after the budget office has looked at what they've got and told them whether they think their base budget should be adjusted. But in ringing in my ears will be the testimony from tonight and all the other budget town halls, and you would be surprised how often things get in because of what was said at these town halls. I do want to say a few things about some of the issues where there were a number of people testifying. But first, Annapolis Immigration Justice Network is kind of one of my favorite organizations because they do so much with so little money. And when I found out tonight that 96% of their cases actually end with families being able to stay here, that means that they are legal here. They just didn't have an attorney to help them get through the law. That is through the courts. That is impressive. And in this economy, we need that workforce. AACPS, I'm glad to hear that there were teachers and parents and others who were here advocating for the budget, for funding the budget. I think most people know that I can't go above I can't fund something in their budget that's not requested, but it's going to be a tough year because of the cut that Chris was talking about in the state portion of what they do. I think we have to look at it over the long term and really try to get our county to the place where we are the most competitive. We heard from a number of our FOP friends, and I know that they're frustrated, and I understand why. I do get it, Mike, but I'm having trouble with the solution part of it, that we do have more positions in the budget than are filled. We came in with 755. Now we have 809. That's not a big increase over 5 years. I recognize that. We're not to the full staffing levels. We came in and it was about 700. We got up to 800 for a period, but now we're down back at about 760, and that's not good enough, and it's frustrating to see. So we have to get there, and we're going to have to work together to do it. And so I would like to hear some of the proposals that you referenced of how to get there. I know we disagree on where we are in the standings. Our budget office tells us that our compensation package is actually the best in the state, and y'all disagree with that, but we can keep crunching those numbers. The $20,000 recruitment bonus is something that has helped somewhat. But every time we do a bigger recruitment bonus, all the other counties then match it, and it ends up not really being effective. That is something that you can bet that I do want to deliver on as well. Let's see. I was glad to hear somebody talk about the DPW budget, because those folks really are the ones that are out there, in these storms particularly, along with our police and our firefighters as well, really dealing with the crises and working all night. Some nights it's really kind of extraordinary. Glad there were a bunch of people from Discoveries. It's my favorite branch of the library system because it's so cool that it's in the mall, and we helped to create it. We do know that there's a compensation issue within the libraries, and they have historically been undercompensated, as have our teachers and many of our public employees. I got to note that the jobs that have historically been held by women in this county have been the ones that are least compensated. Historically, I think you have had elected officials say, well, go find a boyfriend or move in with somebody, has been said, or marry somebody to take, these have to be jobs that people can live on, period. These are professional positions, people often with degrees that are doing them. So more on that. And we do recognize the fact that the employees are in the process of organizing a labor union. And that is because they feel like they have not been compensated well, and they want better representation, and we support their right to fight for that. I also appreciate somebody saying, please be more efficient with county resources. And when you have people working from home, that means you have office space, and you should reorganize. And I can guarantee you that we do have a work group that is doing exactly that, and redoing some of the office space. And we thought we were going to have to expand over at River Road, and we're not going to have to because of the fact that we have people working from home, and they can rotate and share offices, and that is happening in the county. But on a lot of fronts, we are constantly trying to be more efficient and cut costs, and it doesn't seem like it ever really does reduce overall spending, but hopefully it's improving services. Symphony folks, I wish everybody only asked for another $10,000 in their budget, because I'm not saying we're giving it to you, but I'm saying that thank you for being so reasonable and making such a good pitch. So let's see. Oh, and I also liked Jennifer's proposal that we help the nonprofit sector with their fundraising and their capacity building, because I do believe that there are things that the nonprofit sector does better than the public sector. And so look up Anne Arundel County's new nonprofit center. It will be located at Crownsville. There's a building that's about to start the rehab process, but the work has already begun, and there are cohorts being trained at the nonprofit center in fundraising and capacity building and board management and a lot of things like that. And hopefully we'll see results of that in the coming years. And housing, thank you for a number of you bringing up the topic. Thank you for the work with Chase Homes and the housing conference that you did this year. I'm glad that's coming back. And thank you, ACT, for advocating for the housing bill that requires developers with new development to do 15% of the units as affordable. That did not pass, but we have not given up. Lisa and I have not given up. There are a lot of conversations going on. I'm meeting with the home builders tomorrow about it. I'll be meeting with the realtors and the Chamber of Commerce, trying to get all of their support. And we're certainly talking to the council members and trying to get that vote and figure out, maybe we'll come back with a bill that's even better and stronger than the one that we had. So we have lots of work to do. The governor's the governor has a series of housing bills that we had a meeting about today that do some innovative things that we might be able to integrate our legislation with and make it even more effective. And thank you to the food bank for the work that you've done. We have created, along with increased funding for the food bank, a food council in the county to organize the distribution systems so that we can get the food efficiently to the places where it needs to be. So I think I will stop with that and really just say, I have a lot of other notes here, and I know that you guys have been taking notes, and we're going to be going through a lot of the specifics, but this, I think, has been really useful, and hopefully all of you have learned things about the county and about the needs. Let's all get to work. I got 3 more years, and then I got another, hopefully, 20 or 30 as an advocate on the outside after that. And I will be testifying at these town halls. I can guarantee you that with the next county executive, and I'm going to be a real pain. So thanks for coming out tonight, and we'll see you next year.